Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Post Conference Presser from Anfield Index. The last one for a few weeks, ladies and gents. It's the last game before them international breaks. God, they're shit, aren't they? Let's be honest. But hey ho, one more game to go against Aston Villa to complete what would be an absolutely brilliant week. There is no two ways about it. I'm Dave Davis coming to you from, I know the press conference was at 9 a.m. and it's about 2:30. It is absolutely dismal here. It's nearly dark in Edinburgh. It feels like an episode of Cadfael or something with a bloody moonlit or sort of, a candlelight type of job. But we move anyway, as they say. So we'll do the normal, the Q&A that Arne slot was asked, the answers that he gave. We'll talk about the clues from the Leverkusen game, and boy, will we talk about that Leverkusen game. We'll talk about the threats that Aston Villa bring at the same time, and they are not to be ignored. And then we'll do our normal predicted score, scoreline, and the lineup, which, might just be debatable amongst a few things. But we'll get into it, ladies and gents. What were the questions that Arne Slot was asked? What answers did he give? So the first one he was really asked about was, and it wasn't Video Connor this time, it was someone else from Sky, no idea who, but has the start surprised you at all? He said, I don't think surprise is the right word to use because I know the quality of our team, but the quality is the one thing, to be consistent is the second thing. I'm not surprised in this because in the moment I started working with these guys, I saw the energy on a daily basis. If you work every day, you can be consistent. Sometimes a lot of luck comes into it as well. Mostly what we've got has been deserved. Sometimes it was close call. In general, though, I'm not surprised as we've shown our quality and you've seen the effort we've put in to get these results. We shouldn't really be surprised, but there is a little bit of it at the same time. I think that's okay to say. All the changes that have happened, I don't think even the most optimistic fan had Liverpool top of the Premier League and top of the Champions League with 100% record, the same number of points in the Champions League as United have got in their entire Premier League campaign today. That is insane when you think about it. To be 2 points clear of Manchester City so far, 7 points clear of Arsenal, having been to their ground so far. I think that would have surprised a lot of people. You've got to be honest if someone have asked you that. But what more do you expect off a cool, calm and collected customer like Arne Slot? This is the standard that he sets. This is what he expects at this club. Happy days with that one. And then, because it kind of leads to it, doesn't it? He was asked about the next period, and we know the games that are coming up post-international break when the likes of Newcastle will be visited, City and Real Madrid will come to town. All that, it's a proper tough schedule after the international break, isn't it? Sorry, no two ways about it. And said, he was asked this specifically, are we managing expectations around that? And he was quite honest and said, I'm not trying to manage expectations with the squad. We do talk about our expectations, and the only one I have is they come in every day and put in the maximum effort. They work as hard as they can, and their habits and our habits is what we want to see on the pitch in every game. I hope they do. I ask them to put that effort in on a daily basis. That's the only thing we focus on and the players think about. After Saturday, though, they won't think about their national team, and then we can have we focus on the games that we talked about there. So, yeah, the national teams will be focused for players. There's no two ways about it. We had the great news today, didn't we? That Mo Salah looks like he will not be going on Egyptian duty, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I don't want to undersell that for 1 single second. The whole thing about Mo, now his age, and as we've seen in recent years, he always starts the season on a house on fire. It's terrible that we just expect that. This is just an elite player. It almost is, but it does happen all the time. Now, he's getting that bit of rest, and it does make a difference because we know the impact that AFCON, the injuries historically he's had on him, and just, that sort of extra games. Any and every bit of rest you can give Mo Salah is usually paid back for us tenfold. So honestly, I know people won't be making much of that, but Salah not going to Egyptian duty, I think that is absolutely brilliant for us. I don't want to undersell that for one single second at all. He was also asked about Jones and Jones and Diaz even, and how well they've done. Has you been surprised by that at all? And what sort of prompted that increase in performance? He said, with Curtis, it's maybe not me who did it, because he became a father and I had nothing to do with that at all, which you imagine prompted a big laugh in the room. Since the moment he's become a father, he started to put great performances in. He already did this in the first few weeks we worked together in pre-season. I could see what a quality player he is, but maybe his performances have dropped a little bit since then. Since he became a father, he was outstanding again. In general, though, it has to do with how the team plays, because every player that comes in has had a good performance. As a result, then, of those individual performances, that makes you a better player. He was then asked about a Lee Carsley quote, because Lee Carsley had said, because Joe's one of the most talented or naturally talented players I'd ever worked with. So he was asked about that, what makes him such a good player. He said, when he has the ball, he's not afraid to try and do something special with it. Sometimes that leads, in my opinion, to him touching the ball too many times as he's overconfident, but confidence is an important tool, and that's what he has. As long as I'm working with him, he's had incredibly hard work rate. You saw how well he played against Cole Palmer as well. For him now, it's about consistency. If you're a quality player, to have a good performance once a week, that's not a big accomplishment. The best players in the world show up every 3 days. So much to like and unpack there around Curtis Jones. I mean, for Curtis, it was a sensational performance the other night. It just showed that he is amongst the elite midfielders. He has that ability. It's all about consistency. And quite honest, you think, staying fit. Because when he has an injury, this has been the routine. Injury, takes maybe a little time to come back in, and then it just clicks all of a sudden again. That seems to be the pattern. If we can just break that pattern and literally stays fit and plays consistently, well, that is what you'd expect. He has all the attributes. He has all the talent in the world. And I didn't mind this at all, actually. Arne Slot, being honest, he can sometimes be, and he's used overconfident, take too many touches. No one's going to disagree with that. I could be wrong, but I think most people would say that. If you say what could improve in his game at times, sometimes just that bit of holding on to the ball too long. But he's been brilliant the last few games. And even that Chelsea, people remember his match winner, no doubts. But I absolutely love that Arne Slot called out his shackling of Cole Palmer. That's how important Curtis Jones is for Liverpool, going both ways at the moment. I mean, for me, it's maybe too strong. Who cares? It's Friday. He's almost coming into that, and some people will say it's ridiculous. In form at the moment, he has to start. He has to be in that team. There's no two ways about it. And there you go. Just 10 more to confirm when we come to the lineup. But absolutely brilliant. Now, there were some other bits around sort of Simicast and Robbo. And, he was quite honest in saying that literally look at my team sheets for that. I am rotating them, and there's a lot of games. There's nothing really there we didn't know. He's answered that before. He was asked about Anfield and the fans, everything around that. He said, well, if the end result is for them to be excited, because he'd been asked about how excited they are, and bring the atmosphere that they brought against Brighton and then the second half against Leverkusen, I hope they will keep being excited as they possibly can be, because that atmosphere helped us a lot in games. No two ways about this, ladies and gents. Anfield has absolutely devoured opposition in recent weeks. Brighton were on top in that first half, weren't they? There's no two ways about it. They were devoured by a wall of sound. And literally, that just took those players on the pitch. You could see it waving their arms. in that second half. Right, keep it going. That wasn't to get it going. Keep it going, because it was taking them to new levels. You also saw it again in Leverkusen, and it wasn't just by the time we got the first goal. It was before. You could sense it changing, and the players were responding to that, weren't they? No two ways about it. And then Leverkusen, which Xabi Alonso had talked about it before. You can play well for 70, but it's the 20. They couldn't handle it. That is the pressure, the absolute pressure that they have to be put under, Aston Villa, on Saturday night. And it's been mentioned by a few times before. Get a few Madrids down your neck, whatever it takes. Like, I don't care, it's knocking towards Christmas. Bring out the Cinzano if you want. Whatever it's going to take to have Anfield bouncing again, that is the perfect way to go into the international break. So that is all you can hope for. But it's not going to be every game, because that's what's special about our atmosphere. It's not a drum banging. It's called upon when it's needed. Let's see it do the business again on Saturday night. I'm salivating at this. Cannot wait for it at all. And the final question I really want to pull from his Q&A bit was around the forward bit as well, because naturally he was asked about, well, hold on, Luis Diaz played a false nine, etc. You know, all the different people you've got. How are you seeing that at the moment? He said, well, it depends on the availability of players. When Diogo and Darwin are available, we've always played one of those two. However, recently, Diogo was no longer available, in my opinion. We played as many games with Darwin, and it was too much for him. And that's why we had to come up with other options. I think that's absolutely spot on. I won't go into analysis too much straight away. To be honest, I liked the last idea, and every supporter did, with Lucho scoring 3 goals. Lucho is also a very good left winger at the same time as well. We've got 4 attackers at the moment available for 3 positions. We could come up with other ideas again, but if Diogo comes back, we always have 2 number 9s available again. And I always will usually choose one of those 2. For me, it is a bit of a surprise to see how well we did. Of course, I've played him there for a specific reason, and he did so well. Wasn't a surprise for me. After the international break, and this is important, I'll come on to this as well, because I wanted to steer into it. He was asked about Jota as a follow-up to that bit. So this one, as it says there, he did say that we expect him back a couple of weeks, or within a couple of weeks of the international break. So that was the bad news from the press conference, ladies and gents. It does not look like Diogo Jota is straight back after the international break. All the indications are that it will be, as Arne Slot said, a couple of weeks, which ultimately, on the surface, looks like he's going to miss the Real Madrid Manchester City encounters, which is not the news we wanted at all. The other side to that, he was asked about what is it, and he said, players have got their privacy. I think it would be an absolute astonishment, knowing what we know and landing on him at the time, if it's not a fractured rib, isn't it really? It seems to be that severe if you go back to that Chelsea game, which, as a timeline, tends to be. We did a bit of digging before this, but if you speak to sort of the people involved in the S&C, the medical side of football, said usually can be 4 to 6 weeks, which would bear out, wouldn't it, realistically? So it's just bad luck for Diogo Jota, isn't it, more than anything? So you do feel for him, but this is a time of year we could really, really do with him back as quick as possible. And interesting, you're probably going to be thinking, what about the others? We didn't get an update on Harvey Elliott. We didn't get anything. No one was asked about Elliott and Chiesa. Maybe after the international break. Who truly knows? But with a bit of a smile, we will turn back towards the other night and Leverkusen. A 4-0 demolition job. A Luis Diaz hat-trick, a Cody Gakpo header, a Mo Salah double assist, Curtis Jones, so many. Canate and Van Dijk bossing Boniface, first not doing much, all those types of things. There was just so much to like about this team? And I'll come on to the forwards separately, but as I also mentioned, what the clues from that? I think you have to play Curtis Jones again. You cannot drop him at the moment. That was too good. So that's the other one. And then we already knew this a little bit. It was a good reminder, wasn't it, about the importance of Ibu? Because when he had the wrist, and we were obviously thinking, is he going to be fit for this one? And even I was like, okay, if there's any doubt, Joe Gomez is a top quality centre half. He can come in. But Ibu was sensational again against Boniface, against Leverkusen, wasn't he? Absolutely bossed that game. Well worthy of their clean sheet, him and Van Dijk and the other defenders, to be fair, at the same time. But it's always a good reminder of just how many quality players we have at the moment. And there might not be that much rotation for me. That was the biggest clue that I took away from Leverkusen at the same time. But we'll see. We'll come on to my prediction with that shortly. We always talk about the threat to the other team. It could just be easy to dismiss Aston Villa. And I've seen some people going, well, they're on a bad run. They just got spanked 4-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They just lost away with the bizarrest handball. I'm sure you saw it from Tyrone Mings. Very, very bizarre. There's a lot you could look at and go, we'll sort of swoop them away a little bit. But, I mean, out of their 10 games, they've won 5. There's a few away wins in there. They've drawn 3. They've only lost 2. And they've had a few injuries at the same time, Villa, as well. So important to remember that. Last season, I mean, this was a 3-0, wasn't it? Szoboszlai hit that left footer. There was the one where it was an own goal when Nunes hits the post and it rebounds. There was so much to like about it. This is not that same Villa. This is the same Villa with belief. And the midfield will be tricky. Anana's doing really well there. McGinn is an important player. Tielemans, almost another lease of life. There have been question marks about his leg and different things, but they are a good team, Aston Villa. And there is goals there. Because Duran, I mean, his ratio per minute is insane, but he's capable of a spectacular one as well, isn't he? 8 goals so far this season. Ollie Watkins has 5, all in the Premier League. And then you look at the likes of, Bailey. This is no give me. Aston Villa are a very good team. I do honestly believe it will be them or Chelsea duking it out for the 4th position. That's honestly, when I look at all the teams available, they are the 2 favourites for me. So I'm not writing this off at all. And Chelsea gave us a real good game, a real tough game at Anfield at the same time. So that is in my thinking. The one thing I do look at with Villa is, if you think about sort of their underlying numbers, as it were, they've scored 17, which is very good, but they conceded 15 in 10 games. They are quite porous. And if you actually look down the league for goals conceded, theirs is a bit of an anomaly. I think it literally, Liverpool are obviously doing brilliantly, but you have to go to like 10th or 11th to get the same number of goals conceded. So that is something to just be aware of. Villa do ship goals. Not a bad thing for us at all, but I still don't think this will be easy whatsoever. Which then brings us to line-up, score and scorers. So, I could well be wrong on this, and I know David Lynch even said it on Media Matters. He fancied there would be some changes like Szoboszlai and Nunes coming in for freshening it up. I don't think he will. I think Villa had 1 day's less rest. We've had the extra day. I think the players who came in have had a bit of a rest. If you look, Diaz has been out of the team a little bit recently for Gakpo. Jones definitely not had the minutes, not always starting. Szoboszlai's, been the main man for this season. And Gravenberch and McAllister have been pretty consistent. So, I just get the feeling that, and he even said he had the giggle in the press conference, could be wrong, how much it surprised him. I think he'll go exactly the same. I do think it'll be Kelleher, Trent, the normal 2 in the middle, Van Dijk and Konate, Tsimikas on the left, Mack and Gravenberch with Curtis Jones, Gakpo on the left, Diaz is almost a false 9, you call it, a dropping 9, and Salah on the right. I do think, it's just what I believe, he'll line up exactly the same way for this one. In terms of a result, 3-1 is what I'm going to go with in this one. Villa have got some real attacking talents. Let's not undersell that at all. But with Anfield's help and a boost all round, 3-1 to Liverpool, Mo Salah to open the scoring. That is what I'm going with. We're doing really well recently, to be fair, and I am delighted to say Leverkusen just destroyed everything, didn't they, really? But nothing wrong with predicting sort of a 2-1 and getting a 4-0 victory. So something like that in this would be absolutely superb. But Villa do bring threats. Just remember that. We do have to keep an eye on Duran, who's got 8 goals. We do have to keep an eye on Ollie Watkins, who's got 5. We will have to compete in that midfield against the likes of Onana and McGinn. It is a tough Villa team that we're facing. Let's not get overly enamoured with the Tottenham result. Let's not look too much at the Bruges result, because apart from a random handball, nonsense decision really, that's a 0-0 game. But we should be confident. We should be looking forward to this. 8 p.m. Saturday, under the lights at Anfield. Let's hope for another 3 points before the international break. And ladies and gents, on Friday the 8th of November, that was another post-conference presser.